Welcome to Film Riot. Something recently that I've been messing around a lot with is Letterboxd, which it's an app and also has a website version, which website version is actually a lot better. That's basically just for movie lovers. It's like a social media platform for movie lovers where you create accounts and you can follow each other. You have followers, you can make lists. I've had it for like 6 months, but I really haven't dived into it till recently, the past couple of months. And what I really love about it is it's this thing that's cataloging what films you're watching, what you're taking in, what you've watched over the year. I mean, that's how I found it. I started keeping track of all the films I watched throughout the year last year, and I just did it in Google Docs. And then somebody pointed this out to us, and this is just a much better way to do it. You can log the films that you watch when you watch them. You can make notes on it. You can rate them, and then people can see that if you want, or you can keep it private if you want. And I just think that's a really interesting practice to kind of look at and analyze. I think there's something educational about it. It's a very unique platform that I'm really falling in love with. You can also see what other people are watching, what they thought of those movies. But my favorite thing about it is the ability to keep those review logs, but you're also able to create lists. So I've created a bunch of lists, like my favorite Fincher films in order, my favorite Spielberg films in order, my top 50 favorite horror films. I'm working on a best films of all time list, which is at like 350 films right now, which I'll set live eventually once I'm done with it. It's kind of like just the best hobby ever. But you also go through and you tag the films that you've seen and what you think of those films. And over time, it creates all these stats for you as far as how many films you've seen with certain actors, with certain directors, how many hours that you've watched, of what years that you've watched. I've just found it to be a very fascinating and very entertaining thing that I've just cut out all iOS games, and this is basically all I do with my phone now. If you love movies, if you're a filmmaker, this is just a really great platform to be on. I don't make any money from this. It's a free platform. You don't have to pay for it. There is an upgraded version, which I did because I don't know. I really love the app, so I wanted to support it, but you don't have to pay for it. You can do it for free. So definitely go and check that out. Absolutely worth your time and a very interesting practice to catalog the films that you're watching and go back and look at those things that you love the most and what influences you. And going right off of that, recently there was something going around on Twitter, the Filmstruck 4, where everybody was tagging each other, and you put the 4 films that influenced you most or made you love cinema up. And I wasn't able to do just 4. I had to do 8, but that was a really interesting thing too, which made me think about Letterboxd, which is what films really influenced you as a filmmaker, not what films you want to have influenced you as a filmmaker. I think a lot of times when we say stuff like, what do you think are the best films? What are your favorite films? What films influenced you? A lot of times we're not entirely honest. You want to shoehorn in Citizen Kane, Godfather, things like that, which might actually be true and to some degree are true for me. But if you really had to boil it down to, 4, 8, 12, 36 films that really influenced you, that raised you? What are the films that raised you, that really spoke to you as a younger person, that made you want to make film, that something about it stuck in your mind, the way that the camera told the story stuck in your mind and has influenced the way that you make your projects, what influence your language? Like I said on Instagram, these are the films that we love influence our own personal, cinematic language. And I don't think that we choose them as much as they choose us. You just fall in love with them. Sometimes you don't even know why. Drive is one of those movies for me that really influenced me more recently, not so much when I was young. And I couldn't really boil down the exact why. There's just something with the tone and the vibe and just how everything came together really spoke to me in a certain way. And I took a harder look at the type of films that did influence me. And when I really started breaking those out and, not trying to shoehorn in those, prestigious films, just what films raised me, what films as I was growing up really influenced me and educated me in film language. And I thought that was a really interesting practice to do and has actually been pretty helpful in a few ways because it's shed light on a lot of things about how I tell stories and how I approach stories. So I would encourage you to do the same. I even made a collage of a lot of those films, which you could see right here. There's 36 films right now. I'm just going to keep going, and I might turn it into a poster of all the films that really influenced me. Like take Mission Impossible, for instance. Do I think it's one of the best films ever made? No, I think it's a great film. I adore it. But there's something about the way that the story was told visually that really stuck with me and resonated with me. And I think that has made its way into my work a lot. Even the use of Dutch angles, specifically the scene where Kittredge and Ethan are in that restaurant, the one with the big fish tank that ends up exploding in the end. Just the way that that scene was covered, the pacing of that scene, the tone of it overall. There was just something about it that really spoke to me at a young age, and I emulated that a lot. I tried to recreate that scene quite a few times in different ways, just because there was something about it that just really, really clicked with me. Jaws is another one. The slow burn of that film, but always feeling that tension at times, the camaraderie of the guys, really focusing in on those characters before we got the scares. That spoke to me a lot. Jurassic Park, just from front to back, I mean, that as a little kid, that was more of the experience that it was able to give me, feeling like danger in a safe place. And of course, films like Citizen Kane and Casablanca and It Happened One Night and M, which is actually on there. All those films, those more prestigious films, those are a part of my film education as well. But I'm sort of looking at it as when I was younger, when I was really learning to speak cinematically, what were those things that taught me to speak cinematically? And these are those films. And I don't think you need to apologize for that if it's Jurassic Park or if it's some kind of blockbuster film and you don't have these art house avant-garde type films in there. I think the films that you love, that's who you are as a filmmaker. It doesn't mean you're going to make films like that. It just influenced you in those ways to catapult you in the direction that you ultimately go as a filmmaker. I don't know if I'm just rambling. This is just something I've been thinking about recently, and it felt important. Just all these things that really influence me, that I really gravitate towards. And then once I put all this collage together, looking back at what those were and really analyzing what it is about those films that really speak to me and make me want to put that image on there, has actually been extremely helpful. There's nothing more discouraging than having a pile of overdue paperwork just sitting there staring at you while you try to work or do anything you enjoy at all. Well, our friends at FreshBooks have their cloud accounting software that will give you time to do the work that you love and not feel discouraged by the paperwork demon. FreshBooks has been redesigned from the ground up and custom built for the way that you like to work. It's the easiest way to be more productive, organized, and most importantly, get paid quickly. FreshBooks is not only ridiculously easy to use, it's also packed full of powerful features. You can create and send professional-looking invoices in less than 30 seconds, set up online payments with just a couple of clicks, and get paid up to 4 days faster. You can see when your client has seen your invoice and put an end to the guessing games. Of course, right now, FreshBooks is offering you a free 30-day unrestricted trial. Just go to freshbooks.com/FilmRiot and enter Film Riot in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
Logo.
So that's it for today. Now it's time for my suggestion of the week. This one was sent to me by my friend Ryan Thompson, who's also now a part of Film Riot, and you'll be hearing more from as well. He did a lot of VFX for Sentinel. He's doing a ton of the VFX for Ballistic, and it's called Cosmos Laundromat. It's weird and it's awesome. It's animated. It's done using Blender. I absolutely love the style, the lighting, the depth of field, the use of that handheld look, and just the tone and pace overall. So definitely check that out. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.